and very grateful for the hospitality, for the opportunity to be fed amazing food over there. Oh my gosh, that fruit plate is just incredibly delicious. Hope everybody got some fruit. It's really good stuff.
We want to get you some bags so you can take them with you.
All right, well,
They're staying here. They're staying here.
we're going to stay here for the night. So
Okay, all right.
maybe we'll snack on it in the morning. Breakfast is always a hidden commodity for us. It's not always available. But what we are, through the Honor and Remember organization, are part of an event that is called America's Run for the Fallen. And just real simply, what we've done is we partnered with the Department of Defense, with a number of other agencies, and we have compiled a list of fallen service members that have died while serving or as a result of serving over the last 18 years, starting with the USS Cole, October 12, 2000. So the number of service members that we have compiled is over 20,000. So we've taken all of those 20,000 names and we divided them up by the day that they died. So everyone didn't die on a unique day. So we took every name and we put them together on their date of death. Like today we ran for a mile near one of our ending miles for 23 service members who died on one particular day. So to give you an idea that we're not just honoring one at a time, we're honoring as many as died on a particular day. And the names we're going to read tonight are based on a date range of between 9/11/2003 and November the 7th, 2003. So just about 2 months. And in those 2 months, 182 service members were killed. So those are the numbers and the names of who we ran for today. So we're going to call those names, our runners here are going to call those names out loud in just a second. So we've taken all 20,000, we've mapped a route across America totaling 6,000 miles. So we've run 984 miles so far in 3 weeks. And we are going to about 6,100. And so we're running through 19 states over the next 4 months. And we're going to end in Arlington Cemetery on August the 5th. And so this is historic. No one has ever done this before. Went out and tried to find so many names, and then taken those names and put them into some kind of a format by which they could all be honored. And so every mile we run, we stop, and we call out the names of those that died on a particular day and date. And then we run another mile and call out those names on the next date, and another mile and call out those names on the next date. And so we're just stopping and going, and every mile is a very short mini ceremony, very respectful and very consistent, so that every one of those heroes gets honored consistently together. And so this is what we're doing. America's Run for the Fallen. We're also streaming it live on the internet, so if you have a good signal, you could watch us. If we have a good signal, you can watch us. Most of the time, through the mountains, we didn't have very good signal. But we have had in days past, and we will. So it's something that you can watch and follow. And so as part of our evening, I don't need to be talking away. We'd like to honor these men and women one more time in your presence, because we read them all day long. And sometimes there was somebody at a marker, and sometimes there was nobody. And so we got to hear them because we said them. But where we go, we like to make sure that someone else gets to hear these men and women's names, because they were an important part of the freedom that we have today in this contemporary society. So remember, these names are those that gave their lives over the last 18 years to tonight, just between September and November of 2003.
Sergeant Henry R. III, USA, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Larry Vaquero Lugo, United States Army. Petty Officer 3rd Class Scott Allen Maloney, United States Navy. Sergeant Armando Arnoli, United States Army. Master Sergeant Kevin Moorhead, United States Army. Sergeant First Class William Bennett, United States Army. Chief Petty Officer Willie James Clark Jr., United States Navy. Petty Officer 3rd Class Eric Robin Singer, United States Navy. Sergeant Trevor A. Bloomberg, United States Army. Petty Officer 2nd Class Tanis Matoyas Jordan, United States Navy. Senior Airman Charles Osmond Smith, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Kevin Kimberly, United States Army. Specialist Alyssa Peterson, United States Army.
Sergeant Foster Pinkston, United States Army National Guard. Captain Brian Falls, United States Army. Private Joseph William Glasper, United States Army. Sergeant Benny Jean Wade Sr., United States Army. Sergeant Anthony Thompson, United States Army. Specialist James Wright, United States Army. Specialist Richard Arriaga, United States Army. Private First Class Brian James Doyle, United States Army. Private First Class Ryan Jason Barella, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Richard Gilbert Dupont, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Frederick Miller, United States Army. Chief Ward Officer 4, Frank Jackson Hudson II, United States Navy. Sergeant Major Dennis Lee Tellock, United States Army.
Sergeant Davis Travis Fredrich, U.S. Army Reserve. Sergeant Specialist Lunsford B. Brown II, United States Army. Specialist Garrett Maurice McHenry, U.S. Army. Petty Officer 2nd Class John Swan Callahan II, U.S. Navy. Captain Jimmy Paul DeCos, U.S. Army. Specialist Paul J. Sternio, U.S. Army. Captain Jean Annie Stone Robinson, U.S. Army. Senior Master Sergeant Kelly Clinton Cheney, U.S. Air Force. Senior Apprentice Brian Roosevelt Luke, U.S. Navy. Specialist Michael Andrade, U.S. Army National Guard. Petty Officer 2nd Class Alyssa Patrice Galindo, U.S. Navy. Private First Class Allen Larissa Hernandez, U.S. Marine Corps. Sergeant First Class John Fitzgerald Stickland, U.S. Army. Sergeant Neil Aaron Lime, U.S. U.S. Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Thomas Taylor Latch, U.S. Army.
Sergeant First Class Robin E. Rooney, United States National Guard. Robbie L. Captain Robert L. Lucero, United States Army National Guard. Master Sergeant Charles Anthony Burroughs Sr., United States Air Force. Petty Officer, third class, John K. Umbetta, United States Navy. Specialist, Cal G. Thomas. Specialist, United States Army. Specialist, Lisa Michelle Andrew, United States Army. Lance Corporal Charles Wilson Jr., United States Marine Corps. Jeffrey Thomas Ball, Airman. Jeffrey Travis Ball, United States Navy. Sergeant Lonnie David Harley, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Christine E. Parker, United States Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant Christopher E. Cuttrell, United States Army. Sergeant Andrew Joseph Baddick, United States Army. Private First Class Evan W. O'Neill, United States Army. Private First Class Marine Marvin Lane, United States Army. Sergeant Darren K. Potter, United States Army National Guard.
Specialist Dustin K. Mikal, United States Army. Senior Airman Ricky LaShanya Ross, United States Air Force. Specialist Simeon Hunt, United States Army. Private First Class Anna Laura Esperanza Gutierrez, United States Army. Specialist Tamara J. Ramos, United States Army. Command Sergeant Major James D. Blinken Easter, United States Army. Private First Class Anna Laura. Okay, Staff Sergeant Larry Jean Chevalier, United States Army. Lieutenant David Dalton Hiles, United States Navy. Specialist Kyle Edward Williams, United States Army. Sergeant Richard Leon Chalgis, United States Army. Private First Class Charles M. Sims, United States Army. Lieutenant, excuse me, Lieutenant Colonel Paul W. Kingborough, United States Army Reserve. Specialist James Heath, Colonel, United States Army. Petty Officer, Second Class Brian Elliott Hallback, United States Navy.
Sergeant Sandra Megan Borsbach, United States Army. Specialist Paul Edward Mapp Jr., United States Army. Commander William R. Martin, United States Navy. Petty Officer First Class Stephen John Taylor, U.S. Navy. Specialist Brian Keith Vines, United States Army. Specialist Spencer Timothy Carroll, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Richard Torres, United States Army. Private First Class Carrie D. Scott, United States Army. Sergeant Seth Richard Sittler, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Sean Michael Bortel, United States Air Force. Chief Petty Officer Stacy McLinsey Robinson, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Harold Devon Best, United States Army. Specialist Joseph C. Norquist, United States Army. Captain Massey Carl T. Harris Jr., United States Army. Private Sean A. Silva, United States Army.
Staff Sergeant Christopher W. Swisher, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Gennaro Salazar Garcia Jr., United States Navy. Corporal Olin Keeley Simeona, United States Marine Corps. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Eric Andrew Martin, United States Army. Sergeant Matthew John Morgan, United States Army. Seaman Jamie Lee Bendix, United States Navy. First Sergeant David Charles Garrity, United States Army. Airman Adam Michael Clinton, United States Navy. Specialist James E. Powell, U.S. Army. Airman First Class Lynette Ferguson Johnson, United States Air Force. Private Santosino Sarmiento Diaz Jr., United States Army. Private First Class Jose Casanova, United States Army. Specialist Douglas J. Wisemento, United States Army. Specialist Donald L. Wheeler, United States Army. Private First Class Stephen E. Wyatt, United States First Class, United States Army. Specialist Nicasio Ortiz Lebron, United States Army.
Chief Warrant Officer 3, Danita Dixon, United States Army. Corporal Sean R. Gurley, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Joseph P. Bellavina, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Kim S. Orlando, United States Army. Sergeant Bernadette Anita Wilson, United States Marine Corps. Chief Warrant Officer Fife, Willie K. George, United States Army. Master Chief Petty Officer Richard Allen Maiki, United States Navy. Private 2, Michael Wade Peterson, United States Army. Airman Michael James Assenbeck, United States Navy. Ensign Andrew Bellin Factor, United States Navy. Petty Officer 2nd Class Josh James, United States Navy. First Lieutenant David R. Bernstein, United States Army. Private First Class John D. Hart, United States Army. Specialist Brian Paul Tom, United States Army. Senior Chief Petty Officer Douglas Michael Sher, United States Navy.
Sergeant Sok Kak Ung, United States Marine Corps. Chief Petty Officer Richard Lee Dienting, U.S. Navy. Sergeant Philip Ponce Jr., United States Army. Corporal Joseph Anthony Mahoney, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Paul J. Johnson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Jeremy Jason O'Brien, United States Air Force. Private First Class Paul J. Buch, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Malik Faswal Alway, United States Army. Private Gervius Andy Drew Weaver, United States Army. Private First Class Jason M. Ward, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Ira Nelson Simpson, United States Army. Specialist Terry James Stafford Jr., United States Army. Private First Class Travis Scott Banks, United States Army. Master Gunnery Sergeant Howard Daly Burleson, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Christy Luga Tillman, United States Army.
Specialist Jose L. Mora, United States Army. Sergeant Michael S. Hancock, United States Army. Specialist Artemis D. Brassfield, United States Army. Private First Class Ma Vang, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Huey Pierce Cheffin, United States Army. Seaman Jakaya Cherie Cannon, United States Navy. Chief Warrant Officer 2, James Dean Webb, United States Army. Senior Airman Stephen Matthew Pryor, United States Air Force. Specialist Kenneth Jerome Jones, United States Army. Airman Norris Chea McDowell, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant William Francis Medley Jr., United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Jamie L. Huggins, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Charles H. Buring, United States Army. Private First Class Rachel K. Bosfeld, United States Army. Private First Class Derek Donald Bennett, United States Army.
Private Joseph R. Guerrera, United States Army. Private First Class Stephen Acosta, United States Army. Sergeant Aubrey D. Bell, United States Army National Guard. Private Jonathan I. Falanico, United States Army. Chief Petty Officer Andrew Bruce Campbell, United States Navy. Senior Airman Louis Joseph Avalanette, United States Air Force. Seaman Jonathan Curtis Sullivan, United States Navy. Specialist Isaac Campoy, United States Army. Sergeant Michael Paul Barrera, United States Army. Private Algernon Adams, United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Jason Gordon Maxwell, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer 3, Matthew Curry Houghton, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Paul A. Sweeney, United States Army. Petty Officer 3, Edward Sorrell Tippins, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Justin Rangel Adams, United States Air Force.
Second Lieutenant Todd J. Bryant, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Alexander Francis Baresi, United States Army. Private First Class Jed William Lindstrom, United States Army. Specialist Maurice J. Johnson, United States Army. First Lieutenant Joshua C. Hurley, United States Army. Private First Class Brian Patrick Cross, United States Army. Private First Class Karina S. Lau, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Joe Nathan Wilson, United States Army. First Lieutenant Benjamin J. Colgan, United States Army. Corporal Julio Cesar Chavarrias Vargas, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Angel Andres Prieto Wathen, United States Marine Corps. Senior Chief Petty Officer Wayne Jeffrey Richardson, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Paul Anthony Velasquez, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Daniel A. Badir, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Bruce A. Smith, United States Army National Guard. First Lieutenant Brian D. Sylvanus, United States Army National Guard. Specialist Brian H. Peniston, United States Army. Specialist Stephen Daniel Conover, United States Army. Sergeant Ross A. Pennanen, United States Army. Sergeant Ernest G. Bucklew, United States Army. Specialist Francis M. Vega, United States Army. Sergeant Joel Perez, United States Army. Specialist Darius T. James, United States Army. Sergeant Keelan L. Moss, United States Army. Private First Class Anthony D. Agostino, United States Army. Sergeant Charles Ford Barker, United States Army. Private Larry Jerome White, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Paul A. Velasquez, United States Army. Lance Corporal Robert Edward Eaton V, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Rashawn S. Johnson, United States Army. Specialist Robert Melendez Jr., United States Army. Tech Sergeant John Edward Porter Jr., United States Air Force. Sergeant Francisco Martinez, United States Army. Tech Sergeant James Ronald Furman, United States Air Force. Specialist Dale William Patterson, United States Army. Specialist Robert T. Benson, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Jose A. Rivera, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Philip Eastman Goldstein, United States Navy. Senior Master Sergeant Ronald Edwin Levering, United States Air Force. Sergeant Paul F. Fisher, United States Army National Guard. Specialist James A. Chance III, United States Army National Guard. Specialist James R. Wolf, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Robin Michelle Ali, United States Navy. Private Jeremiah B. Kerbessa, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Douglas Edward Bowles, United States Navy. Lieutenant Colonel Edward Stephen Mitchell III, United States Air Force. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Kyron E. Kennedy, United States Army. Command Sergeant Major Cornell W. Gilmore, United States Army. Captain Benedict J. Smith, United States Army. Sergeant Scott C. Rose, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Paul M. Neff II, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Morgan Deshaun Kenyon, as you were, Kennan, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Sharon T. Swartworth, United States Army.
One of the things that we like to do after we read our names is give an opportunity for anyone in the room to call out loud names that have not been mentioned tonight from any generation, maybe a friend, maybe a loved one, maybe a neighbor. If any of you here that are with us that are not part of the team would like to say someone's name out loud, someone that you served with, someone that you knew, someone that you didn't know, someone that may be local, anyone that we did not call out tonight from any generation. Commander, do you have any names?
I got a couple of names of World War II veterans.
While he's looking, any of you gentlemen back there? Just call out loud whoever it is that you know.
Jeff Barker, United States Army Military Police, killed in Saigon, South Vietnam in September of 1968.
I don't know the branches, but Thomas Otahoe, Roy Bennett, Ross Colade, Ross Pinnell, and Cyrus Burnett, correction. World War II veterans from this reservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Jimmy Fallon, St. Louis, U.S. Army, Vietnam.
Yeah. Anyone else? If not, if we could just have.
No.
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Clifton Lee, City, United States Marines.
Yeah. Anyone else? Well, to close this time, just have a moment of silence to remember all the names that we read, names that were mentioned, and all those names yet to come. So just bow our heads. Amen. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here and be able to share with us our mission and be a significant part of this historic journey, because it's something that won't happen again. So,
I hope it happens again.
maybe by us, maybe someone else.
Thank you.